You've likely followed good health and wellness plans before, like I have. You knew what you should eat, like I did. You knew you should exercise, just like I did. And you've probably even had some stretches where the plan actually worked, like it did for me at times. So, why didn't it stick long term any better for you than it did for me? That question is what today's episode is about. Not the plan, the nuts and bolts of it, really, but the system, the approach underneath that plan. The four things, I like to call them pillars, that have to be in place for any health and wellness change to actually hold long term. So if you tried and quit more times than you'd like to admit, and I'm right there with you, this episode of the Fitness is Our Business podcast is for you. But first, allow me to welcome you to the show that helps busy professionals thrive in their demanding lives by taking control of their health and wellness. I am your host, Victor Fernandez, founder of Fernandez Fit and best-selling author, and I coach entrepreneurs and business owners, career-driven people really, who've built something real in the business world and are finally ready to build the elite version of themselves to match it. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome, of course. But whether you're new or you've been following for a while, do me a solid. Make sure to like the show, leave a great review, subscribe to the show, and share it far and wide, because many more people need to learn that fitness is our business. All right. Let me start with something I see constantly and something that I lived myself firsthand for many years. Most people approach health like there's only one challenge to tackle. They fix the diet, but then they don't address the mindset. So when a stressful week hits, they abandon all the work they did with their nutrition and never actually build the habit that needs to be ingrained. Or they hire a personal trainer, but they don't have any nutritional support. Hint, hint, that's not me, you know that. So the physical effort that you put in never really translates to the results that people are after. Or better yet, they white knuckle their way through sheer willpower. I knew that very well. I would be gangbusters for a few weeks, maybe a month or two. But then along the way, I had no accountability. So the moment life got hard, and inevitably it always gets hard, there's nothing holding the system together. Single pillar approaches don't fail because people are weak or they're lazy or they simply don't want to. They fail because they're structurally incomplete. I tried to get healthy for over 20 years on single pillar approaches. I would really work on my diet here. I would really hit the gym hard there. I would show willpower as long as I possibly could. I'd get traction, or at least some of it, and then I'd lose what I got, and then I would have to start all over again, over and over again. It wasn't until I understood, really understood, that I was missing the other three pillars at any given time every sustainable health change requires, like I mentioned. That's when I finally stopped starting over. So let me walk you through the four pillars. If you work with me or you've had a conversation with me, you know what these are, but I'm going to share them with you now and go a little bit more in depth into it for you. And as I'm doing this, as I'm laying it out for you, I want you to be honest with yourself while you're listening about which ones are truly solidified in your life, really ingrained in who you are and what you do, and which ones have been the weak link. All right. First off, it starts with mindset, because without it, nothing else really holds. Nothing else really works. I tell people all the time, I could create the best health and wellness program ever created on this earth, and it would be rendered useless if people's hearts and minds aren't aligned. And I don't mean aligned in the motivational poster or quote sense. I mean the specific beliefs we carry about ourselves and what's possible for us. And most of all, what we want to happen to us. For most of my adult life, I didn't believe, really at a deep level, that I was someone who could take care of himself. Health truly wasn't a part of my identity. So every plan I tried, no matter how good it was fighting against my own self-concept in myself. The mindset shift that actually works isn't, I need to get motivated. Toss that word motivation out of your vocabulary right now. It's an, I am someone who shows up for this type of discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays around long term if we let it. So the idea is we want to build identity before action every single time, because once you build one, everything just plays off of that. And for entrepreneurs like me, business owners, career-driven people, there's often a second mindset block, if you will. The belief that prioritizing our health is somehow in conflict, not just with our business, but with our family. Somehow we're selfish if we choose to openly take care of ourselves. That every hour spent in the gym is somehow an hour stolen from the ability to gain revenue or the ability to be present for our families. That rest is for people who simply aren't working hard enough personally and professionally. I carried that belief within me for many years, and it was costing me everything. Look, your health, much like your family, isn't competing with your business. It's funding it in a way. When the mindset shifts to that, it's essential, not selfish. When you genuinely see that your physical well-being and really your mental and emotional well-being as well, see it as a business asset and not something that is a convenience or personal indulgence, everything starts to change. That's where it begins. Once you got these, your mind and your heart aligned, now you can move on to the nutritional component, which is the pillar, to be honest with you, that most people try to fix first, even before mindset, and most people also get wrong. Really, not because the information is complicated. If I were to put an apple and a bag of potato chips, as well as a soda and a bottle of water in front of anyone, I don't care who it is, there's not a person on this planet who couldn't tell me they should eat the apple and drink the bottle of water. It's because the approach is complicated. And let's face it, we're our own worst enemies because we overcomplicate things. That's how we're hardwired. And when you're talking about entrepreneurs, business owners, people who are driven by their career, it's an all or nothing mentality that we try to apply, especially to our nutrition, that we apply, the same that we apply to our business. Total overhaul, perfect execution, and zero tolerance for deviation. Only one problem with that, besides the fact that perfection doesn't exist. And that's that real life happens. Sooner or later, you're going to have a week where you travel for business. You're going to have an impromptu client dinner. You're going to have a rough quarter with your business. And then everything collapses around you when it comes to your nutrition. The nutritional approach that actually works for a business owner's life, really anyone's life, isn't perfect. It's sustainable. It's something you can manage over the long term. And it's really built around your actual schedule. If you had a conversation with me, you know it's not just about the mental, physical, and emotional side. I blanked for a second. An emotional side of things. It's really, does it work within your lifestyle, within the schedule that you maintain personally and professionally every single day, every single week, every single month, 365 days a year? And that schedule, there isn't an ideal version of it because it always could be better. It could always be worse too. But it also accounts for the weeks when you're on the road, the dinners when you're entertaining clients, the mornings when there's no time for anything really, really elaborate. Because let's be honest, 80% consistency over months and years will always outperform 100% consistency for a couple of weeks or a month. When I finally came to the realization that I couldn't overhaul my diet overnight completely, I simply started making small adjustments that fit my life, my real life. And those small adjustments, sustained for 14 months, or the first 14 months of my ongoing health and fitness journey, were a huge part, an integral part of losing 75 pounds like I did. All right. Fitness. What's the first thing you think of when you think fitness? It's, I'm just going to go to the gym and start doing stuff. And in some cases, to me, it's the third pillar we need to fix. If we had to prioritize all four in order, starts with mindset, as I said, nutrition follows. Now comes the fitness, the physical fitness component of it. Because let's face it, if mindset's not there, if our nutrition's not there, the work you do, you won't benefit from. But when the first two pillars are in place, fitness becomes, shall we say, the expression of the identity we've already built. And here's what I want every entrepreneur, every business owner, every career-driven person to hear about this particular fitness pillar specifically. The amount of work matters less than the consistency of that work. As I've shared many times, when I hired my very first coach almost 16 years ago, my very first workout was 10 minutes on a treadmill. Slowly, very slowly. Not because specifically that's all I could handle, even though it was, but because that was the right starting point for someone who hadn't built the habit yet, like I hadn't. The entrepreneurs I work with, the career-driven people I work with, don't need 2-hour training sessions. Frankly, they don't have enough time to do 2-hour training sessions. I don't even do 2-hour training sessions. They need 30 minutes, 2 to 3 days a week, that's built around their actual calendar. And they need to do it consistently enough, long enough, that it becomes a non-negotiable, something that, again, becomes ingrained in what they do. Because a workout you actually do, no matter how long it really is infinitely more valuable than the perfect workout you planned and skipped. We want to start where we are and build from there. All right, which finally leads me to the final pillar. And really, it could very well be, it's as important as mindset as far as I'm concerned, and more important than nutrition and fitness. And it's also the pillar most entrepreneurs resist, and like I said, still need the most, and that's accountability. Because career-driven people are by nature self-reliant, used to figuring things out on their own. And that same self-reliance that helped us build our careers, build our business, is often what keeps our health from moving forward, keeps it stuck. I tried to get healthy alone for many years, 2 decades really. And what I wasn't able to accomplish in those 2 decades, I was able to achieve with a coach in 14 months. Now I continue my own journey with a coach. Shout out to Dave Rowland, one that I've worked with as of this month, 3 years. That's not a coincidence, folks. It doesn't last that long if it doesn't work. And the reason for it, among other things, of course, is accountability. And it's not someone to motivate me, although he does. It's someone who cares whether you show up, who's not going to just hold your hand, but he's going to help figure out why you didn't when you don't. And let's face it, the research on this is unambiguous. People with quality accountability partners and coaches, and that's not just health and wellness, that's in everything we do, are dramatically more likely to achieve and sustain health goals than people doing it alone, certainly long term. It's a performance variable. It's something that we can quantify, just like we do in the business world with our numbers. The best entrepreneurs I know invest in coaching for their business without hesitation. The ones who close the gap between their business success and their personal health, they extend that same level of investment to themselves personally. And when you put those together, like I've said many times before, we become unstoppable. Well, there you have it, folks. The 4 pillars that don't simply make up Fernandez Fit, even though they do, but they're quality, time-tested health and fitness foundation, for lack of a better term. So if this episode resonated with you in any way, even in the smallest way, we need to have a conversation. DM me on any of the social media platforms I'm on. I'm on pretty much all of them at this point. Or find me through fernandezfit.com, my website. Call me, text me, 814-504-7774. First call is always free. There's not going to be a pitch. just a real conversation to see if we mesh, to see how I can help you, to really find out about who you are, what makes you tick, and what's going to get you moving in the right direction. And of course, between now and then, do me a favor and subscribe to the show if you haven't already, and I appreciate you if you have, and share this episode and really all the episodes with the entrepreneur in your life. Maybe it's you who's been building their business bravely each and every day, but hasn't utilized that same bravery, that same courage to help themselves. Because either you or them, or really all of us, always need to learn that fitness is our business.